I went to secondary school during one of the greatest times for rap, the 90s. But you wasn't allowed to do that in class, strictly only on breaks in the playground or after school. Today's on-point guest, Matt Green, is the owner of JGM Science Tutors and also known as the rapping science teacher. He's brought it straight to the classroom to connect with students and to help them learn. Matt, thank you very much for joining On Point today.
Nathan, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So my first question to you is really about your whole journey. How did you get into teaching, and what led you to start rapping?
So, teaching is an interesting one. I've always loved science, and in my early 20s, when looking for work, it dawned on me that I really wanted to help kids understand the subject that I love, and just help them improve, motivate them, and just do well in education. So that's the career I embarked on around 22, 23, and I did that for 10 years. The rapping thing, I've loved rap since I was in school. And in my late years in sixth form, I started writing rhymes, recording stuff. I didn't quite have the confidence to do anything with it back then, and so I shelved it when I went to uni. But about 2, 3 years ago, I thought, you know what? I think I was walking. I was out walking. I heard someone playing a tune in a car, and I knew the words to it. Something I had intended to do. It was a relatively new song, and I thought, oh gosh, is it possible to take what I'm trying to teach these kids at the moment and trying to make it easy for them to understand? Can I get that and put it in lyric form? And so the idea was there, but I wasn't ready to do it yet. And then after about 6 months, I bit the bullet. I thought, let's just do this. The worst that can happen is people hate it, or they might like it. Let's do it and see what happens. So I did it, and people didn't seem to hate it. Didn't seem to love it either. But I persevered, and then 6 months later, it blew up. I think I got like 40,000 views and went from like 3 followers to 20,000 in a weekend.
Wow.
And yeah, and from that point, I thought, right, this is the validation I need. People like this, and if I think it can work. And yeah, kids always message even today. They're messaging saying how much it's helping them with the exams. The lyrics come to them in their head, and it's a double thing. It's not just the lyrics coming to you. I spend a lot of time writing the rhymes so that it's very easy to understand. So I used to spend hours planning lessons, but now I spend even longer taking these very long concepts and making them easy to understand. And then also they happen to be lyrics. So you can just process and memorize them much easier. So it's like a double thing.
Do you tend to be inspired by the lesson, the subject, and then try to find the song? Or do you hear a song and then you kind of work from there? How does the actual writing process work?
Oh, that's a good question. It's mainly the song. So I might hear a beat. The early days when I started this, there was a whole list of beats. I always like to use the term cold-blooded. It has to be a cold-blooded beat. Like one that you just hear and you think, oh, this is live. I love this. And that usually inspires me to write something. Think, oh, this beat is so fire that I'm going to put something with this. And almost always the ones that I've liked best have been the ones that have gone viral. So it's always usually the beat choice first, and then I put something on top of it. But usually it doesn't have to be anything related with the song originally. I just hear a beat and then I pick up the syllabus. I know what's necessary, and then I write. I just commit to writing that topic to that beat.
No, clearly it's struck a chord with many people. I think on TikTok you have around 400,000 followers. So, that's
Yeah, yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. And I think, from my view, and you'll know better than me as a teacher, the whole kind of teaching style, curriculum definitely needs a bit of a shaking up, making it more relevant for, today's age. So I want to thank you for doing that, because as much as you talk about how it happened, I guess there was a lot of doubt. And I guess there might have been some people even saying to you, like, why are you even doing this? So you persevered and you made it happen. So yeah, congratulations.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Was there an inspiration that actually got you into teaching? Was there like a Mr. Roberts or Mrs. Williams that you had in school that inspired you to say, one day I might be a teacher? I mean, how did the passion for teaching come about?
There wasn't any teacher at school that I saw that made me think I want to be a teacher. But I did have a teacher that I thought was amazing. He was an English teacher called Mr. Dickinson, um, and he was a phenomenal teacher. I always said to myself, if I can get halfway there, then I've won. I've become an amazing teacher. I don't know if I ever did get halfway there in the classroom, but I'd like to think I did a pretty good job. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think I finished uni. Um, couldn't see myself in a lab all day. You know, I'm a people person. I like being around people all the time and having chats and learning, and that's more me. Um, I went into a job in sales, um, which I hated. So that was a bad idea, and plus I was terrible at it. So I quit that, and then it was a point of thinking, what do I do? And then that's when the teaching idea hit me. I love the idea of helping kids learn. I was a bit nervous about the idea of being in a classroom. I'm not naturally inclined to sort of publicly speak. That's not something I was used to in my early years. But yeah, I overcame that. Got, I would like to say, fairly good at it. Um, and then yeah, as the confidence rose, by the time I got to my 30s, I thought, you know what, I'd never picked up a microphone to record myself and put it out 10 years ago. No way, let alone actually step on the stage and do it. But now I kind of think, what is the worst that's going to happen? And it could benefit a lot of people. So that's really, I suppose, what led me to it. And that's my teaching journey, I guess.
And what would you say you're most proud of then with throughout that journey so far?
I suppose proudest life-wise is my family life. I always wanted to have a family, get married. So I've got my wife here in the office with me actually, and I've got three little kids. And yeah, that's probably my most important thing. I could have a high-flying career and all sorts of things, but at the end of the day, that's the number one thing for me. But outside of that, career-wise, I would say probably setting up my own business. There was many doubts in the early years of that, whether it's possible, was I personally capable. Um, it's a dream to have your own business, and yeah, many years I didn't think I could do it, and then when I started, many failures, failed first business, and then I just like, nah, I can't stop, and then that's when I opened up JGM, and and yeah, I would say that's the proudest thing. The rapping and TikTok, I won't lie, I'm very proud of that. But in terms of the two entities, it, from not believing me personally could create a business at all, to doing it was probably it. The very fact that I sort of changed the thing in my brain to say, you know what, you can do what you think you might not be capable of. That's why I kept persevering with TikTok. I was like, I never thought I was going to get 5 clients. And now we had 100 when I started this. So I thought, if I never thought that was possible, I'm sure I can get the following up on TikTok. And then it worked.
And I'm sure you're going to apply that same mindset to even other goals and even achieve them. So, no, I think that whole mindset thing is so important. I remember when I first founded Youth Enlightenment 16, 17 years ago now. And yeah, I was in banking, I was an accountant at the time. So I had no background or experience in starting a business. I had no one around me who was an entrepreneur. Even when people started to refer to me as a social entrepreneur, I'm like, no, that's not me. It took a while for it to sink in. It's only really nowadays that I've embraced it. And I think when you embrace it and you realize I can do it, that's when I think you start to have more of an impact.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Sometimes yeah, you don't sort of identify yourself as potentially being a thing. I mean, I can feel that. I remember when I started and people would say, "Would you call yourself an entrepreneur?" I'm like, "Oh no, that's not me." But then as time's gone on, I'm like, "Yes, that like unquestionably yes." But 4 years ago, I would have cowered away from that and be like, "Nah,
Yeah.
only a real entrepreneur is an entrepreneur. That's
Yeah.
not me."
I liken it to, I don't know if you're into like superhero movies like Marvel, DC. And the first one is where you discover how they got their powers. And we know what they go on to be, but at the time they don't. And they're like,
Yeah.
they're scared to do it. And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't you know who you are? You're amazing. Come on, just start to fly or start to save people. And I think it's a bit like that when you first start out. If only you could see where you're going to end up, you would really embrace it more. But it's part of the journey, I guess.
100%.
Was there ever a time that, you didn't think you'd be where you are? Was there ever a time that, I don't know, yeah, any difficult times and you had to, just keep persevering? Is any times like that you can share?
many, many. I think that probably one of the worst was probably having to shut down my first business. So the company I have now, the tutoring company I own and run, um, is basically the second try of this. First time I tried this, I did this with a partner, and that failed. That failed. It was, I mean, it did okay, but there became a partnership conflict, and that sort of caused many, many issues. And ultimately, to keep a long story short, it ultimately ended up me having to do all the work and the other person not really doing much. And it's a situation was like, if this goes successful, then I have to sort of do all the grind, and it's just not going to be worth it. So ultimately, that company had to close down, and that was the same year my dad died. That was the same year that I was promised a promotion at work and didn't get it. So all those things happened in a 6 month period, and so I went from promising career promotion that was there, the company that I'd created for 2 years was on its rise, and then bam, bam, just suddenly gone, both gone. Um, and then I think within about a week of the closing the company down, I was like, nah, nah, I've got to regroup and start from scratch, because this I can't stop it, and I did, and yeah, I mean even the first year wasn't great. I think I took about 12 months to get three customers, and I hope I was going to get 20 in the first year, and we had like three. I remember spending a lot of effort getting to five, thinking okay, five's not bad, and then two people cancelling, and I was like, I'm down to three. But then the next year we got up to 30, then 100, then 200, and we're at 300 now, and 80 tutors. Perseverance always wins.
Massive. I think it took a lot of strength for you to enjoy. I think you've just mentioned. Sorry about the passing of your father and everything else that happened. And I think for me, what I've learned is, when we fail, really, we learn. I mean, the term, even fail, the acronym for fail, first attempt in learning, Always highlight, I mean, as a teacher, you know better than me, especially as a science teacher, many experiments fail, but you're not failing, really just learning from that and improving as you go along. And now it seems like, yeah, the second time you're now flying high.
I listen to a lot of sort of motivational speakers, and they say the same thing about fail, and it's completely true. And see, I think the crazier the entrepreneur and the more successful they seem, they always say something very, very, very similar. They might have 10 companies are worth 100 million each and done all these things, but they say that 90 things have failed. You just don't know what they are.
Yeah,
And it's just like however big the success is, it comes with more
yeah,
failures behind the scenes that you don't see. And I think once I grasped that, for when things go wrong, that's just how it is. That's just things that just will
yeah,
happen. And the more successful you get, the more things are going to go wrong. It's just people don't know about those things. And I think when you accept that, I think it makes things easier. It's not just you don't just see some successful and think, oh yeah, they've reached it. And no, there's always going to be things on fire. But it's just about managing it.
yeah. Yeah, no, you're spot on. Okay, so if you had to give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
Oh man, I'd probably be less self conscious, and I suppose it's difficult to say be more confident. It's difficult to just be more confident, but you can worry less about what people think, um, and probably do what you've committed to immediately. Um, because if I found the quicker you do things like that, the more it becomes a habit. If it's like, oh, what have I got to do today? I really want to start this business, and I've got to apply to company's house to create it. Oh God, it's 2 hours worth of admin. I'll do it tomorrow. If it's just like, nope, do it today, you do it. Then the next day, it's like, okay, well, now I need to start looking for an accountant or whatever it is. No, just do it. And then eventually you realize every time you say something's got to be done and you do it, eventually every action you commit to, you just do. But usually where most people fall down, especially I did, especially in days of studying early years, something's hard and you don't do it right now. It could be done tomorrow, maybe done a week, maybe you just don't do it at all. And if you've got loads of actions like that, then success just doesn't come. But if it's like, I know I need to do this, do it. That'd probably be the number one thing I'd probably say to myself, because I would sit on things or just not do them.
So being less self-conscious and just getting things done.
Just getting things done, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so another question I have for you, probably the last question is, what is your favorite rhyme that you've done? Is that like asking which one of your children are your favorite?
No, not. No, it's not. No, it's definitely not. Which rhyme? Are we talking about like song or like an actual set of bars? Like my proudest.
I don't know if there's one that got you from, you mentioned having low followers that, made you go viral. Is there any particular one of your own rhymes that you love the most?
Um, yeah, I think some of my viral songs, there's some rhymes I like. One of the first songs I ever wrote, I still like this rhyme, and it comes from Stormzy. I followed the rhyming pattern Stormzy used because I think on the UK scene, he's one of my favourites. And it was from Shut Up, and I can't remember what he said now. If you don't rate me, shame on you. If you don't rate me, shame on you. So order a deathbed for an MC. Better yet, let me make that too. And I thought, that's such a hard, ridiculous bar. I thought I've got to copy that pattern exactly for something that justifies the greatness of that line. And I thought, what's a topic kids always struggle with? And it's diffusion and osmosis. And I remember spending ages trying to craft this, and it just came to me. And it was like, it's not as hard hitting as Stormzy's, but it was kind of basically describing the concept of diffusion. Concentration of something goes from high to low and spreads out. Before in osmosis, that happens just in water, and kids always forget that. So I thought, let me take Stormzy's pattern, and I think the bar was concentration high to low, concentration high to low. Only difference is osmosis just does this for H2O.
Time I clear up confusion, I'll do osmosis and diffusion. Repeat what I say, no excusing. Repeat what I say, you're improving. Concentration high to low, concentration high to low. Only difference is osmosis just does this for H2O.
That followed his pattern exactly. It takes a concept everyone forgets and just simplifies it, and kids remember that, and they say it back to me sometimes. So that's probably one of my favorites, but I do have many.
Well, Matt, look, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm going to continue to follow your journey because I think even though you've achieved a lot, you've got a lot more still to go, and I look forward to seeing you continue to rise and make an impact. And thank you again for coming on today.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for sharing your journeys. It's inspirational what you've done, Nathan. And yeah, it's just been like, I'm always happy to chat. And yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, until next time, I'll have you on again soon.
Okay, okay, let's do it.
All right, take care.